Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMtrading. Today is January 8th, 2020, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the major events of the day, we're going to first highlight the fact that Iran strikes back against the U.S. It hits some U.S. bases located in Iraq, sending over a dozen ballistic missiles. Okay, so this is really escalating. And they're saying that this is just the tip of the iceberg of what they're capable of doing. Okay, now certainly if the United States strikes back after this and retaliates, then this may really escalate into an all-out war. So I just want to highlight that fact as we're going into this particular scenario. Okay, now no matter what happens, this event may highlight and overshadow any kind of positive news that we have in the economic front. Okay, so despite the fact that we'll have positive news coming out for, either ADP or non-farm payroll change this week, this may still have a damper on it. Now, looking at today's markets, we first have at 3:15 South African time, ADP non-farm payroll change. This is a preliminary number, obviously. It's an ADP. It's not the farm payroll change employment number, but it is an indication to Friday's number. Now, looking at the markets, we're watching the currency is still in a very tight range. Dollar not doing much, while we watch the Dow Jones tank over 500 points since yesterday, okay, and then bouncing back. And we're going to take a look at a couple of options there. Now, looking at the commodities, gold breaks higher to 1595, almost hitting the 1600 level. Oil spikes but quickly corrects itself while we're watching the stocks. Bank stocks sell off. Broader market remains strong, but if this does escalate, I would imagine we'll be selling off quite sharply. Okay, even 26,000. Okay, that's how far this could even escalate. I mean, it could go even further than that, but I don't want to, press that red button too soon. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, breaks above resistance. Okay, starting to perk up again. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to take a look here at the Euro USD at a 4-hour chart. You can see pretty much unchanged, okay? 111.50-ish level. We're in a 30 to 40 pip move here. Nothing doing when it comes to the Euro USD and the GBP USD. Really very, very quiet session, despite the fact that the situation is actually unfolding. The reason I'm saying this is, I would expect the markets to really tank against the dollar, okay, or the dollar to weaken tremendously, okay, but nothing happening in the Forex front. However, when we jump to commodities, we see a whole different story, okay? Right now, we're watching gold trading at 1593. If we look at a daily chart, we broke our resistance, okay? Albeit that we are still above this 1563. That was our break. That was our resistance right there. And we really broke above this area. Now, I mentioned earlier this week that we may sell off, we may close up that gap, but this has not allowed it, okay? This is why you got to keep your ears pierced to the news. And sometimes, even though you have a great play in potentially, you always have to keep in mind, that it might not trade towards your favor, and always think defensively, okay? So 1593 right now. Now, if this keeps on going, 1593, I mean, we're going into multi-year new territory, okay? We got to look at a monthly chart to really get into this. Now, the next real resistance level, major retracement level, is in the 1800s, okay? So we still have way to go here if this does escalate further. Now, looking at oil trading at $63 a barrel. Now, this spiked yesterday to $65 a barrel and then correct itself. So oil might not be as affected here, but when we look at the Dow Jones, trading at 28,364-ish level, okay, retracing here down to this area from 28,500-ish level. Let's look at a 4-hour chart just to give us perspective right there. 28,668 yesterday, and then we just tanked, okay, over 500 points to 28,100-ish level, okay, and then just capitulating around this area. Now, a couple of things can happen here, okay? Especially if President Trump is going to add some tweets today and going to add some fire or add some wood to the fire, so to speak. This may continue to tank, okay? This is a significant supportish area, okay? That may be its resistance, okay, at this 364-ish level. So we may see some sort of sell-off continue here, or we may see a nice bounce, okay? Right here, it's hard to say, okay? And you got to really be perked up to the news, because economically we should be in the 28,700 to 800 points, okay? But politically, and what's the uncertainty of what's going to happen is yet to find out. Okay, and remember, the markets hates uncertainty, especially the stock markets. People funds are in there, people's pensions are in there, so this may get affected adversely. Now, looking at the markets, we saw J.P. Morgan sell off yesterday. Okay, that got affected the most to 135 from 140. Okay, after hitting a high last week of 140. We are retracing down to 135. We look at Google, it's still very strong. Okay, so it's not a systemic situation right now. Okay, when we look at the high tech companies, they're still very strong. But okay, and this is another but. This may bring us lower. Okay, first of all, we're at a level there that I think most people are comfortable taking some profits off the table, and secondly, it only needs to be agitated a little bit more for this to escalate further. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Iran is a big country. It's a very strong country as well. This is not a situation where it's Iraq, 20 years ago when Saddam Hussein was going into Kuwait and the United States went in there, and it was over, from September, and it was over by March time. Okay, this is a serious situation, and this may escalate, and that's why I'm highlighting the gravity of it, because it may have much bigger effects on our markets. Now, looking at Bitcoin, lastly, 82.90. Okay, we broke this resistance level yesterday, or earlier in the week, and then just breaking it higher. Okay, this is one of those. This is becoming, like gold, where it's an aversive kind of currency where it's not affected directly by the markets. Okay, and people are putting their money in things that are not going to be directly to the United States. Okay, so just be aware that as this may continue to further rally, or may continue to actually retrace here, just keep an eye on it, because it is on a minor resistance level right now, so maybe a great fade opportunity if this news kind of dissipates. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.